Today on Mr. Media, I'll talk to film director Kat Coiro and actor Iddo Goldberg about their new movie, And While We Were Here. Stick around, and next time Kate Bosworth is wandering Italy alone and looking for love, I'm calling dibs. So much media, so little time. Who keeps track of it all? That would be me. This is Bob Andelman, and this is a Mr. Media interview, brought to you by Amazon.com, Audible.com, and 1-800-DIAL-DJs. Please stop by the website, MrMedia.com, click on our advertisers, support the show. And remember, there's more than 1,000 interviews available at MrMedia.com. We've been doing this since February 2007. Hope you'll find something you like. And thanks for listening. Mr. Media is recorded live before a studio audience of shirtless young men from Massachusetts trying to hook up with beautiful blonde surfer girls from Venus in the new media capital of the world, St. Petersburg, Florida.
Go on board.
Only the legendary and historic charm of Italy could compare with the scene-stealing beauty of Kate Bosworth in Kat Coiro's new indie film, And While We Were Here. The story about a young American magazine writer struggling to keep her head above water in a vacant marriage co-stars Iddo Goldberg as her missing-in-emotion British husband and Jamie Blackley as the lucky SOB in the right place at the right time to reignite her passion. And While We Were Here reminds me of so many European movies I watched as a film student many years ago, full of unspoken gloom, despair, and furtive physical pairings. And like so many of those stories, here takes the American viewer away to places we might never otherwise get to see. Speaking of which, attention Italian Convention and Visitors Bureau officials. I'll be booking my travel to your part of the world soon. I promise. Oh, and if you could have a Kate Bosworth lookalike waiting for me in the arrivals lounge, all the better. Joining me today to talk about And While We Were Here are the film's writer and director, Kat Coiro, who worked with Bosworth on her comedy Life Happens, and her co-star in Here, Iddo Goldberg, who you might recognize as Ben from the Showtime series The Secret Diary of a Call Girl. By the way, you'll have to watch this movie if for no other reason than the surprise ending. I never saw it coming. Kat and Iddo, welcome to Mr. Media.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Delighted to see you guys. Tell me, guys, what's more beautiful, Kate Bosworth or the locations in which you shot And While We Were Here?
It's a toss-up. I'll say the locations.
And I'll say the locations.
Oh!
I'm just kidding. She's a hot one.
Yeah. I had to ask. I was actually thinking it was a tie, frankly.
Well, that's good. That's what we were aiming for.
Okay.
You on all fronts.
And Iddo, I'm thinking that you're probably one of the most unsympathetic guys around, working with Kate Bosworth and Billy Piper. How did you get so lucky? What's the deal?
I ask myself that very same question. You should see my wife. I don't know how I do it.
Your wife is
weird.
really beautiful.
I'm constantly around beautiful women. I don't know how. It's kind of like a blissful kind of ignorance thing, I think. Just happened.
I'm thinking it might be the Chariots of Fire fashion sense that we're seeing here.
Yes, I try to wear. Do you call these tanks here?
Tank tops.
Yeah, I try to wear tanks a lot.
Okay.
Out to dinner and posh restaurants.
Oh, good.
Oh.
Well, it'll make you easy to spot, that's for sure. But I think what needs to happen is you need to be everything around you needs to be black and white, though.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, the film actually originally screened at the Tribeca Film Festival in black and white.
Really?
And Iddo looks great in black and white, I have to say. Of all the people, he has the most kind of classical film star face. It looks good in color, too, but it really looked great in black and white.
It looked better before, basically, is what she's saying.
And did it film in black and white just as a production issue or intentionally?
No, the intention of the film was to have it be in black and white, and then we decided when releasing it on a wider platform to go color. And to be honest, I'm excited about both versions. When it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray, there's going to be a black and white version and a color version. Both versions have different feelings, and you saw it in color, yes?
I did, yes.
Yeah,
I think both versions, because I've obviously seen it in both. I think both versions have like a charm of their own, if you like. I think they're quite different.
I agree. You know, I remember we edited it in black and white. That was how we predominantly watched it. And I would always get to the grotto and think, my God, I wish this movie was in color, because that Mediterranean blue was just so enticing and amazing. And then the black and white version, you know, gets very intimate into the actor's eyes, and you kind of lose the Italian landscape a little more. So that, you know, both ways I like it.
Well, and maybe tell me a little bit about the locations while we're talking about the landscape and the look of the film. The caves, the castle, where the other places the film was shot. Kat, how many of these were places that you had been before or specifically wanted in the film, and how many were more great accidents? I don't know.
Well, I had never been to the island of Ischia before. My producing partner's boyfriend's family had a house there, and they said we could film there. And we worked that out before I even wrote the script. And I actually wrote the script by Google Earthing Ischia. And I would kind of Google Ischia, and the castle would pop up, and I'd say, what scene could I put in that castle? And it was incredible that when we landed, we had 3 days to kind of scout all these places that I'd seen online. And they all worked out, and they were all more beautiful than they had looked when I had Googled them, thankfully. And so it was kind of an incredible experience that way, and one of the ways that, you know, you can use technology to create art in the modern day. You know, I never had to go there, but I felt like I knew the island before I arrived.
I had there's a novelist named Richard Deutsch who's been on the show a couple times, and he writes these adventure thrillers, pretty much always set somewhere in Europe or Asia. And he had this the first 30 or 40 pages of one of his books took place in the Four Seasons in somewhere in Turkey. And it was just by coincidence. I had actually worked with the chairman and founder of Four Seasons on his own book about and I was fascinated that he had such incredible detail. I said, "You must have really enjoyed being there," and he said, "I never went."
Yeah.
And it was just like, what? He said, "You know, with the internet, you could get pictures and you could get, you know, layouts, and it's astonishing."
It's true. It was. I mean, and you came into it a little later after we'd been there and we'd scouted the locations. And what did you think?
I think we were all made to feel. I think we were very lucky. We were all made to feel very much at home because Anthony, Lauren's husband, boyfriend, you know, had so many connections there that wherever we went, we were kind of like, hey, it's those guys, you know. It's like, and everyone was, you know, everyone was really nice to us. So,
well, and it's a tiny island too.
Very small, yeah. So you end up feeling at home. You end up feeling very comfortable very quickly.
Also, the last thing that was filmed there was The Talented Mr. Ripley, which was obviously many years ago. And so it's really exciting to step outside of New York and Los Angeles, where people are so sick of you filming in their neighborhoods, and you know all they want.
So true.
You know, all they want to do is get you out, or like have you pay them lots of money.
Or walk past your shop.
Yeah, exactly. And so you know, everyone there was excited, and they wanted to know how we were portraying their island, and you know, besides Kate, Iddo, and Jamie. Anybody else who appears in the film, like the cab driver or the waiter at the restaurant, they were actual Italian cab drivers and waiter at the restaurant that we kind of pulled off the street. So we really did get a very authentic feel for the island, despite the fact that, you know, all the lead characters are transplanted from other countries.
So, so the reason that that's really weird, because the reason that it felt familiar is that I've seen it before. I've sort of seen it before in Ripley. It's that same area.
Yeah. Now with Ripley, they filmed all on this one little kind of main section, which is very. I think we see it when we're in the boat when Kate and Jamie are in the boat. We see exactly the vista that Ripley filmed most of the film in. And the Iskians were very excited because we went the entire length and breadth of the island. You know, we went to the caves, and we went to the castle, and we went to the mountains, and they were all really excited that we were actually, you know, filming the entire island and not just that one little picturesque section.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I felt, and so, okay, so I mean, I not only felt like I had been a little bit there before, but now I really want to go there. That was, so you've certainly should have made them very happy with your portrayal of what you captured there. Let me.
It was also really nice to see. I remember it was also really nice to see of how proud people were of where they lived, and you don't see that very much. That was really nice, you know.
That is nice, and they should be very happy, as opposed to. I'm in St. Petersburg, Florida, where the James Franco film, the Spring Breakers, was shot. Not a lot of pleasure here taken in that portrayal. Yeah, a little different. Kat, I want to ask you about the story. It was interesting to read that what I would kind of view as sort of the B story in while we were here. The memoir, the World War II kind of memoir that's going on with Kate's character, that inspired you to write the story, although it's sort of the B story, if you will. Here, I wondered about the main story, the marriage that's failing, the affair with a very young man. Does any of that come from reality, or is that all whole cloth? What's the...
Well, it's actually interesting because Kate and I, as you said, had worked together on Life Happens, and directly on the heels of that, she said to me, let's do another movie together. And I said, okay, what should it be about? And she said that she really wanted to explore the subject of infidelity. And we got to talking about it, and we said, you know, usually you see these stories of infidelity where it's a morality tale, where somebody's done wrong. You also see it happening a little later in life. You know, Kate at the time was only in her late 20s. Even though she feels in the film like a much older person, she was a young woman. And so we kind of said, let's make it about infidelity. Let's not make it a morality tale where someone's right and someone's wrong. And let's make it about a younger person going through this kind of midlife, quarter-life crisis, if you will. And having worked with Kate before, I wrote the script kind of based on her strengths and these things that she wanted to explore. And it was really important for me in writing the story that at one point or another, we've all been each of those characters. Iddo's character of Leonard, although he's not great at communicating, we've all been there where the relationship just isn't working. And I'll speak for him when I think it's not that he didn't care about her or didn't want to talk to her. It's that it felt a little bit futile because she was also complicit in the relationship not working. You know, we have all felt like the young lover. We've all felt like the person who just doesn't know what they want to do. And so while the story itself is not autobiographical at all, this idea of making a story that, you know, where someone cheats on someone and it doesn't end in a thunderbolt coming down and or a lightning bolt coming down and killing them. You know, that was something that was very intriguing to me. And then the personal element to it, the B story, as you said, is this set of tapes that I had made of my grandmother before she passed away. And after I wrote the first draft of the film, it felt very small. You know, it is, the truth is, it is a story we've all seen before. It's a very common story, you know, unhappy marriage, somebody strays. We'll see how it goes. I won't reveal the ending, but I added this level of the grandmother's story to kind of give it a timelessness and to show that each generation has a struggle, that those feelings are the same, whether the war is within your own marriage or the war is outside in the world. It doesn't really change the human condition.
And when we meet, at the beginning of the film, when we meet Jane, Kate's character, and Leonard, Iddo's character, I was struck that it seemed like she was trying to be older, more mature, to be with Leonard. And of course, then she makes the mistake at the end. She loses her purse, and then when we meet Caleb, Jamie Blackley's character, I look at him and I think he seems too young, way too young, and it seems. And this is the former film student in me coming out. You tell me if I'm way off base here, but it seems that the dichotomy between the two men in her life in the film, she's drawn from playing too mature to too immature, and part of her path seems to be to find the balance that's right for her.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean it's not about the relationship with the husband or the relationship with the young boy. It's really about her relationship with herself. And I think you struck on exactly the fact that she's completely lost and she's trying to define herself through other people.
So should I go back to Robert Ray's class at the University of Florida and tell him I deserve an A because I finally analyzed something correctly?
Bob, if you want me to write a letter...
Don't waste time, man.
Yeah, I'm thinking that. And tell me, was it your character Leonard has got a very limited range of emotion, and that's part of the problem, I think. Is it harder to play that lack of emotion, or is it harder to play someone who's like just bursting with emotion?
I think every character, if you're really, if you really get it right, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard work because, it's you're either working hard on set or you're either working hard before you get to set. So I think, to get the job done well, I think you're going to have to work hard either way. But I think, Leonard's kind of limits were, I think, almost like a mirror of how he looked at Jane, and you've quoted that Leonard Cohen song.
Mm-hmm. It's in the film now.
Right. So this whole idea of feeling that something was already kind of he couldn't do anything about it anymore. So he kind of stopped trying. But I also feel that happens when, I think he was just really scared to kind of ask those questions and to really step out of their marriage. And I know, often people talk about Kate's character being unfaithful to Leonard, and yeah, obviously they were married, so she is by law unfaithful. But I kind of feel like they're both being unfaithful to each other throughout their marriage, because so much of it is a lie, and so much of it is it's just very sad. It's a very sad situation.
It is, and I don't want to give away anything about the ending, and I said it's sort of a surprise, and the way I said that, I don't want to suggest it's the Crying Game surprise ending. It's nothing that, but I was surprised, I mean, that's very different. But it just kind of took me by surprise because certainly with Hollywood films, we expect a certain kind of ending. This was not... I'm trying very hard not to give anything away, but was it important to you that this end differently than maybe people expect?
I try not to think about those things when I'm writing a story like this. What I tried to think about was the characters and staying true to what these characters would do. And so it wasn't so much like, how can I make this ending one way or another? But like you said, Jane is struggling with who she is and where she fits. And so the ending to me is her finally taking control of a very small thing. And, we don't know if it'll work out or if it won't work out, but we see that she's at least taken control and she's not a passive character anymore, because she does spend a lot of the movie very, very passive, barely, she's saying to Iddo's character, you don't talk to me, but she's not talking to him, and she's not giving very much away. And I actually, it's funny, I'm very protective of Iddo's character, you know, because people often jump to, well, he's a jerk and he doesn't, you know, he doesn't give her what she needs. And I think it's absolutely 50-50 with those two. They're not right for each other. I think they're staying with each other out of a sense of duty more than out of a sense of the day-to-day. And so I always feel protective of him. You know, I think there is someone out there for Leonard, you know, and someone who understands that his music comes first. I always think of his character as a true artist. You know, he's a viola player in the film. And I think that is his first love. And anybody who's going to be with him has to understand that they're going to come second to that. And I don't think she understands that. So there's my defense of your character.
Thanks. Thank you.
Kat, I think you need to write a follow-up film. I wouldn't necessarily call it a sequel, but I think maybe we need to see where Leonard's path takes him.
You know, it's so interesting because as Iddo brought up, the film is kind of very loosely based on my love of this Leonard Cohen song, Famous Blue Raincoat, which is the closing credits song of this film. And that song ends with this kind of nebulous ending where you do want to figure out what happened to those characters. And so I did that purposely. I kind of left it open where, you know, you do wonder. It's a little like a short story, this film, in that way, like a story rather than a classic film, because your imagination can kind of take each character and run with them and see where they'll be in a couple of years. Maybe I'll write the novel.
There you go.
You should.
So what's next for each of you? What are you doing next?
I have a new film, a very different film called A Case of You, which is coming out in theaters in November through IFC. So this film comes out September 13th in theaters. It's available on demand in iTunes and VOD. And then I have this other film coming out in November.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
Iddo, what about you?
Sorry.
He just got so wrapped up.
I just thought maybe it was a pregnant pause. I didn't want to interrupt it, but then I thought maybe he just forgot to answer the question.
Sorry. No, I just I've got a show coming out in the UK for BBC Two called Peaky Blinders. That's all about gangs in Birmingham, in just north of London, in the early 20s. Which stars Sam Neill and Cillian Murphy and Helen McCrory. It's like an epic saga, family saga centered around the Shelby family. The show's called Peaky Blinders because this family, they used to sew like razor blades into the peaks of their hats. And that's how they'd get their business done. And it all kind of centers around Cillian's character. It's going to be fantastic. And I just finished working with Frank Darabont on his show, which is now titled Mob City for TNT. And that comes out in December 4th, which is another huge epic kind of gangster series set in LA in the 40s.
So I was onto something when I started this whole thing by remarking on your fashion and your...
I just don't belong in this period.
It's apparently not. Apparently
Shouldn't
not.
be.
Maybe maybe the Purple Rose of Cairo. Maybe that was another reference I missed early on. Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
Nice.
last question. That was supposed to be the last question, but this is actually the last question. Were any violas harmed in the making of this film?
No, there weren't.
Emotionally, they were devastated.
There was no. Are you thinking about like a rock and roll thing where people were smashing violas into walls?
Well,
none of that happened.
Well, you know, at the end of a movie that has animals, you know, PETA there's usually a line there to placate PETA that says no animals were harmed in the making of this film, and there's so many jokes at the.
Actually, we had to be very careful about viola. I rented that viola from London, so I was walking around with it, being very careful with it. It's quite expensive, so no.
And you know, your actual playing of it might have been injurious.
It was so awful. I didn't have very long to learn how to play this instrument, and there's a shot
I feel
of me.
like even if you had years, it's the viola. It takes like a lifetime to master.
I can't explain how embarrassing it was to sit there and have the whole crew kind of sit there while I'm...
All four of us?
Yeah. That's enough of a crowd. The sound that was coming out of this thing. That was quite emotionally scarring. So maybe someone was harmed.
All right. Well, folks, listen, you can find And While We Were Here, written and directed by Kat Coiro, and starring Kate Bosworth, Iddo Goldberg, and Jamie Blackley. Yes, there he is in the background. Right now, you can see it. It's video on demand,
You can
VOD.
see Kate, can't you? You can see Kate.
I can, yes.
I'm just checking.
Absolutely. She's been staring at you, giving you kind of that.
There's a lot of Kate, a little bit of Jamie, but not much. No, I'm not on the poster.
All right, keep your hands off the young actress's chestal region.
Okay.
You got enough in the film. Keep your hands to yourself, young man. Anyway, you can find the movie right now on video on demand on iTunes, and as of September 13th, it will be in theaters. There's a website for the film, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's there's a Facebook page. That's the best way to find it, is just put "And While We Were Here" into Facebook, and that'll lead you to the Well Go Distributors page as well, where it has all the theater information.
Very good. And do either of you have your own Facebook pages or websites or any of that stuff where people can follow you?
Yeah, I have Kat Coiro on Facebook and Twitter too.
What's your Twitter?
Kat Coiro.
Kat Coiro.
Yeah.
I'm at Iddo G on Twitter. I don't have a Facebook page.
That sounds very, very dangerous. At Iddo G.
At Iddo G.
Yeah, it just sounds. It sounds very.
Innocent.
Yeah, it sounds very hip hop, sort of. Anyway,
this is another conversation.
It is. We'll
my gang rap career.
We'll have you back to talk about Peaky Blinders at another time. Kat, Iddo, thank you so much for joining us on Mr. Media today. Enjoy the movie, and much good luck with it.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Bye.
You can see and hear almost 1,000 Mr. Media interviews by visiting our main site, mrmedia.com, mrmedia.com. Or check out the more than 200 video interviews on the Mr. Media radio site on YouTube. And I'd sure appreciate if you'd show some love for Mr. Media's advertisers, including Stitcher. Apple named Stitcher a top 5 news app of 2011. It's a free mobile app for your smartphone or tablet that lets you listen to your favorite shows and discover the best of news, entertainment, and sports on demand. You can listen whenever you want to more than 5,000 shows, get customized recommendations, and discover what your friends are listening to. My own list of Stitcher favorites is pretty eclectic. I start my day with an hour of MSNBC's Morning Joe with Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski. Then it's the latest 2-minute update from the Onion News Network. After that, I'll listen to WTF with Mark Maron, Here's the Thing with Alec Baldwin, HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher, and excerpts from E's Chelsea Lately and The Soup with Joel McHale. Also in regular rotation on my Stitcher playlist, the BS Report with ESPN's Bill Simmons, the TechCrunch headlines, and the Don Geronimo Show. The latest episodes of each show, whether originating from broadcasts, cable TV, radio syndication, or podcasts, are continuously updated. Stitcher is a free app for your iPhone, iPad, Kindle, Fire, BlackBerry, Droid, and more. And show your support of Mr. Media by getting, did I mention it's free? The app at stitcher.com/MrMedia. That's stitcher.com/MRmedia. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio. We're also supported by Audible. Check out Audible's 30-day trial membership and download the audiobook version of the book everyone's been talking about, 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James. Sign up for your free trial today at audible.com/radio. Again, audibletrial.com/radio. And finally, if you need a disc jockey for a wedding, bar mitzvah, corporate event, or just a big old party, please consider calling 1-800-DIAL-DJs, the party authority for all your party entertainment needs. You can call 1-800-DIAL-DJs or go to their website, 1-800-DIAL-DJs.com, and tell them Mr. Media sent you. And thanks for listening. Hi.
Me, Iddo, Kate, we're all here. Jamie, hi Jamie.
Hi, Jamie. How are you guys?
Jamie's usually bigger than life, isn't he? And now he's smaller than life in this picture.
You probably want to move a little bit to your left, just so we don't lose you in this shot. There you go. Perfect. Now you're both. No. You stay where you are. And it looks like you just walked out of Chariots of Fire. What's the deal with that shirt?
It's really hot here.
Oh, okay.
I tell you what it is my apartment doesn't have air. So I'm just kind of like, August and September here is kind of like I've got malaria.
I see.
So I'm kind of like half conscious. It's so hot here right now.
You don't have to make excuses. It's sexy. He's wearing it because it's sexy.
There you
And
go.
his cat likes it. I wore it for Kat.